Hello guys, this is MaxCut4, and today I'll be showing you guys the revised and reworked British and the Eastern Front mod. Alright, so for starting off, you have your British HQ. You now have infantry sections which went down from 450 to 340 manpower, albeit they're weaker. I'll show you more about them in just a second. And your starting squad is a scout squad, which costs 210 manpower. It's a 3-man squad that's good for detecting snipers and can actually be equipped with good old minesweepers. Next, you have your lieutenant, which is only one available, and then you have your universal carrier, which is now no longer starts the Bren carrier. Just a universal carrier because it can be upgraded to different things. Also in the HQ, you have securing resources. This is now individual trucks. You have to upgrade this to secure resources. So if I put this on this territory plus 16, I'm not getting any extra bonuses. I can reinforce, but I don't get the bonus until I secure resources, and then I get extra 26, and then the sector is locked down and can be captured. The enemy can't come in here and capture it until I get that upgrade. So now it's not as smart to move your HQ right off the bat as the British, because you're not going to get that bonus, and you actually take a loss on manpower whenever you move your HQ. In addition, the British have two ways of healing. They still have their healing tent that they can build as before, the casualty clearing station, which still you have to pay for munitions to heal. But in addition, you have medical corpse. This allows you to heal in your territory. It's very similar to the Wehrmacht Veterancy 1, but it only applies in your own captured territories, so just keep that in mind. So you can get that to heal up, and then you can also get Mills bombs, 100 manpower and 30 fuel. Gives your rifle sections and sappers the ability to throw grenades. So let's go ahead and go through the units. Starting off is your starting unit, your scout squad. So your scout squad that you start off with is a 3-man little squad with rifles. I think they cap pretty fast, and they like faster than most units. And they're decent in combat. They can usually beat Panzergrenz. They can compete with Stern Pios. Probably beat them at range, and then of course Pioneers will beat unless they're right up close with them. They can be further upgraded with either the recon element, as seen here. Your deploy marksman's ability still available to counter snipe, and they have wire cutters right off the bat, so you don't have to worry about being wired in right off the bat. Don't have to face any of that toxic stuff from a Wehrmacht player. In addition, you have minesweepers to counter early mines, so these will help you from getting countered with early mines from the start of the game. In addition, you have your rifle sections, so 5-man squad. Another big note, as you can see above it, this one has veterancy, Vet 2. Alright, so rifle squads can now be, and all other squads and vehicles can be gain veterancy on their own. In addition, they still have the lieutenant veterancy, as you can see the little star above them, and that gives them a global, that's applied globally wherever they're at on the map, but the lieutenant can only get veterancy if he's within the 30-meter radius of them. So, your units can get better, but they can get even better than by themselves. They don't have to always have the lieutenants to get all the bonuses. The 3 upgrades that we now have, we still have the Bren, which has the button enemy vehicle. It takes a little bit longer nowadays. And then you have your rifle grenades, which still have your rifle smoked for 15 munitions. And then, last but not least, you have the anti-tank rifles. So these are very good for the British to counter early vehicles, especially like versus Panzer Elite. Uses a lot of vehicles. Is very similar to the PTRS and PTRD from the Soviet Union that you guys have seen. So those are your rifle sections. So usually recommend to get around 3 of these when you're building with them, but it's up to you. Alright, moving on to the last unit in Tier 1, the second to last unit in Tier 1, my Bren carriers, or Universal carriers now. So Universal carrier starts out, you can garrison soldiers just as normal, has a Bren, and it can have self-repair once it's damaged, just like normal. You have 3 upgrades, so convert to MMG carrier. This simply gives it the ability to have a second Bren, gives it a lot more firepower. This would be good for trying to destroy enemy units and good harassment vehicle early on. Next, that one also costs 50, 50, and then 50 for all of them. Alright, so the next one is the Wasp. This one's, in my opinion, the best one because it has a flamethrower. You can push infantry out of cover, and it gives you extra health boost as well. So you get extra health, and you have a flamethrower that can help push units out of buildings. So if you don't want to go for the grenades, you can use this instead. And it's also very good has a very good early game spike. Last but not least, you have the Universal Carrier, which turns into the Mortar Carrier. This can give you smoke screens. It can give you just regular mortar bombardments. Helps you deal with buildings as well, so that you have 2 different really three ways of dealing with buildings now. You have the Wasp, the mortar, and you have grenades. And then you have this if you just want a general harassment vehicle. My favorite would probably be the Wasp. Mortar carrier is pretty nice too, especially if you're playing versus Wehrmacht and they're more static. Alright, once again we have the good old Lieutenant, which another cool thing to note, when he's assigned to a squad, he no longer follows way back here. He gets pretty close, like he stays this close to the squad. It also makes it a lot harder for you to single out and target him whenever he's moving with them. That's because he's not moving way back here. And it helps him keep that radius so he's close to the squads as well. Alright, moving on to Tier 2, we have Tier 2, which comes with Sappers. These all have SMGs now. 6-pounder anti-tank gun new unit, the Captain still available, and the Staghound armored car. This Expert Engineers is not going to be in there very long, so just don't just pretend. Excuse me, that is it in there. Expert Engineers gives infantry sections and Sappers faster construction rates, and enables Sappers to conduct over repairs. So getting this, there's no longer the over repair ability. It's just it's through here. You don't have like Expert Engineers that you pay munitions for. You pay this, and all your engineers perform better. Once again, securing resources. Gotta purchase it on the individual truck. Now you secure the sector. Alright, so first we'll go with Sappers. These guys are actually really good at close combat. So before, your Sappers had rifles and they're kind of like a useless unit, but now they're actually good and they have the ability to throw grenades and they have SMGs. These guys are really good at flanking and they can do decent damage, especially once they get Veteran 2-1 and they get better health, then they can be used really well in the front lines. Your two specializations, you have the Piat and Disposal Detection section. So you get a Minesweeper, but you can also lay demolition charges, and by default they can cut wire. So cool little thing that you can do. Next you have your good old Piats. So these guys can camouflage when they're in cover, just as before. It gets this little ability to your Piat ambush, do extra damage. You still have two little SMGs, so then they can at least defend themselves a little bit, as opposed to the rifles where they didn't do very good at all. Things that they can build, to go over the emplacements and stuff. So new thing that the British have is a repair station. Costs 150 manpower and 15 fuel. This gives you two little repairs, much like a repair bunker. You're just paying fuel instead of munitions. So these guys will go out there and they'll repair your broken vehicles. So it's good to have one of these next to your main HQ. Moving on to other emplacements, the Bofors has been actually buffed, and the 17-pounder is pretty much the same. It's just about as good as it always was. It's a really good air denial, has a super far range, so let's make sure you guys take advantage of those. There's a repair station. It's pretty cool when it's getting destroyed. The Jeep will get blown up, which is pretty cool. Alright, moving on to the AT gun, just a simple anti-tank gun. Has an armor-piercing round, 35 munitions, so it'll definitely help you. It'll help you in sticky situations, and it's mobile anti-tank. So if you don't want to rely on the 17-pounder, then you can just rely on your actual anti-tank gun, which is pretty cool. So it gives a mobility option for the British as well. Once again, you have the Captain, which he has the mark target at Veteran 1, which pretty much makes your enemies take more damage if you select that squad for mark target. Then you have your Victor target, as always. You can call an artillery from on the map, artillery, like self-propelled gun and your artillery pieces. Last one is either the Staghound armored car or you have the good old Stuart light tank. So this one I chose the Staghound. You get a machine gun upgrade and you can get sandbags to improve the armor, much like the Greyhound. Now this one's still going to be a little bit lighter armored than your good old Stuart, but the cool thing about it is it's a lot more mobile in my opinion, and it seems to be better generally versus infantry with the machine gun. But that's all for Tier 3. Let's move on to Tier 4. Alright, so moving on to Tier 4, you have the Armor Command Truck. So in here you have your Cromwell tank, 400 manpower and 80 fuel. You now have the Churchill as a buildable tank. Comes at 420 manpower and 90 fuel. It's actually been improved as well, so it should actually be able to beat a Panzer IV 1v1. Has a lot thicker armor and a little bit better gun, but it is a little bit worse versus infantry, and it's still expected to beat a Panther. But although we'll be able to stand up to it. Next, you have the Comet or the Firefly. I prefer the Comet personally. It has a little bit heavier armor, I think. Both have roughly similar guns. The Sherman Firefly has also had its armor improved a little bit, or its HP improved a little bit because its HP was a little lower than the regular Sherman, so it has the same HP as the Sherman. So it will be a little bit better, but it won't have the extremely long ranges it used to have. So just be aware of that. And these guys can be upgraded with, all be upgraded with tank commanders. This one can get the actual Churchill can get the mine crab or minesweeper, and then it has a tank shock ability which suppresses all infantry around it. Cromwell has a good old flank speed, and then lastly we have the Cromwell command tank, which this thing has been improved because it's actually a usable tank now. Like infantry, tanks can all get their own veterancy, but they also get buffed by having the command tank present. The command tank also has a creeping smoke barrage at veterancy 1 for 15 munitions, and then right off the bat it has Victor artillery. So if you have artillery on the map, which I have several on the map right now, you'll be able to call in a Victor target, and each of them will fire like 2 or 3 rounds, and it's pretty impressive. Note that this shares a cooldown with the captain. As you can see, I have built several artillery pieces, so it's raining down artillery like crazy. But just keep that in mind. He can also get his tank commander, so just be aware of that. Last upgrade in here, you of course have the securing resources upgrade, so you can secure that sector that you're in. And then you also have the speed governors. This will enables you to get your trucks all be faster, but it's on the tier 3 for the British. So just be aware of that. Alright, and that's the end of tier 4. Make sure you get a repair station beside your tier 4 so you can always fall back and repair your vehicles as well. Next we'll be moving on to the actual commanders. Alright, so first commander there is Royal Artillery Support. Has been a ton of changes to this. Supercharge got changed a little bit. Creeping Barrage got changed a little bit. Counter Battery actually got moved to a different doctrine. Is now replaced by the Humber Armored Car, which I'll show you more of later. Forward Observation is still there. Overwatch has been changed a little bit, and you still have your trusty 105 Priest. So let's go on the right hand side. Look at the Humbers first. Humber Armored Car is essentially the British version of the good old Panzer Elite Armored Car. So this thing, as you can see, has an autocannon. Has pretty light armor, but it's pretty quick. It can get to where it needs to go pretty quick as well. As you can see, got a nice little American star, British star, whatever the Allies are using at the time. You get a tank commander for 35 munitions, and it'll improve your sight lines. Cool little fact while they're shooting. Look, commander ducks down there, and looks like it comes in 2 variants: the camouflage variant and then the just basic stock variant. I just noticed that when I was filming this video, so that's pretty cool. Alright, those cost 400 manpower to come in, and they come in at 2 CP, so it's actually pretty quick, and you can use them as your light vehicle if you don't want to build Stuarts or Staghounds per se. Alright, moving on, there's the Creeping Barrage been changed just a little bit. We'll go over that. It costs 50 munitions down, so it's a lot cheaper, but it comes in a lot slower now, because this actually has to be fired by the on-map artillery. So there we go. Yeah, obviously it's a lot slower coming in. 1, 2. 1, 2. So it will continue to go down this entire line. However, it moves a lot slower, gives a lot more opportunity to get out of the situation, but it's also 3 times cheaper. So I think that's a pretty big bang for your buck, and it's a little bit more realistic instead of like 3 artillery rounds hitting at the same time, and it's kind of toxic to play against the old Creeping Barrage, just wiping out everything in his path before you can even get out of there. This one will punish like defensive lines like bunkers and a whole bunch of static play, but it is somewhat easy to escape as well. Next we have the Overwatch. Overwatch actually will cost you 35 munitions, and it lasts for a minute actually. So it'll overwatch anything in that sector that it can see. I don't know if it actually sees anything in that sector. I should have. Here, let me use something different artillery piece. Let's do sector Overwatch. I guess that one's. And we'd have to have something move into it, but it's just airburst artillery, and that one will just for a minute anything going into that sector, as long as you can see it, will get hit with sector artillery, very similar to the Austria's airburst artillery. Moving on, let's see, just the 105 Overwatch and forward observers. As you probably know, forward observers can be called in from your good old captain. They can be called in from lieutenant, wherever he is. and they don't share cooldowns. So as long as you're floating a ton of munitions, like obviously I have right now, then you can call those in. And then of course you have your victor targets regardless, so you can just have artillery galore over here. And now as you can see, if he was on Overwatch artillery, he won't be firing on that. Same thing with if they're in cannon battery. So just a fun fact, but we'll go ahead and move to the next commander. Alright, moving on to the next commander, we have the Royal Commando support. So this one's been changed around a little bit. So Glider HQ comes out at 1 CP right now. Tetrarch comes out a little bit earlier too. Instead of being the very last thing, it's the second on the right side now. So you can actually get a Tetrarch out pretty early, and it can be it can actually help you out in games, as I saw in one of my 1v1s. Typhoon Airstrike is now available, so it can strafe targets with Typhoon anti-tank aircraft. I think it's good versus infantry and tanks, actually. Still have your triangulation, you still have your glider-borne commandos, which are cheaper and a little bit stronger now. And you have decoy artillery as well. So moving on the right-hand side, first we have the Glider HQ comes in, set up. You can produce 4 units from it. So you have the SAS Jeep, the heavy machine gun, the mortar, and tank hunters. So going through them. The good old Jeep actually is pretty awesome, only coming in at 220 manpower, so it's cost the same as the American Jeep. Has roughly the same armament, maybe a little bit more restrictive because it does not mount a turret in the back, but it is still roughly the same damage, I believe. And this unit can actually capture territories. And for 35 munitions, a little bit more expensive, but for 35 munitions, you can lay mines with this bad boy. So early game mines can be laid down pretty awesome, or late game if you're simply just needing someone to lay mines and your engineers are busy in combat, you can use this bad boy. Alright, next you have the machine gun. Heavy machine gun has anti-tank, and it also has concealing smoke, so you can pop concealing smoke to help get out of a sticky situation. Very unique of machine guns, because most machine guns do not have this ability. Also armor piercing to help you with light vehicles. You have your good old mortar, which is pretty much just a basic mortar. Just has mortar bombardment, smoke barrage, concealing smoke as well, so you can help this guy get away. Pretty cool. Help your crew weapons actually survive a little bit longer. Next, you have your commando tank hunters, which are just have 2 Piats, and they cost 320, so they're a little bit more expensive than your sappers, but they're a little bit more elite as well. So, and you don't have to pay for munitions for them, just simply manpower. These guys can also build demo chargers, which is pretty cool, and they can build trenches. One thing I forgot to say about trenches is they didn't rebalance a little bit for how they work now. They're not as oppressive against everything, and they actually cost to build them, so you won't be seeing trenches being a huge issue. You shouldn't be. And that's last but not least on the right hand side. Oh, excuse me, Tetrarch tank. We have Tetrarch coming in at 400 manpower. Then after you get it, it only costs 280 manpower and 30 fuel. So these guys can be pretty good. Obviously get the up gun, and then they have the concealing smoke as well to help get them away, or get away from a sticky situation. But these things are pretty dang cool. They're pretty nimble and they're pretty maneuverable. I've actually had them used against me, and they've managed to kill some of my Panzer III flame tanks and manage to escape without getting killed themselves. Pretty awesome what you can do with these little things, and they come out early, so they can actually be your light vehicles as opposed to the Stuart once again. Next we have the good old Typhoon Airstrike. I'll go ahead and show you that. 150 munitions coming in. Pretty cool little animation. Does a decent amount of damage. I think mainly versus vehicles, but it can harm infantry as well. So pretty awesome ability. Going to the left hand side, we still have radio triangulation between these 3 triangles. Hopefully make it a little bit wider than that, but you can see all enemy on the mini map. If you bring this up, you can see like there's you say you have one in this corner, and this corner, and the enemy has a sniper right here. You'll be able to see the sniper on the mini map. So that's pretty cool. Next we have good old Gliderborn. They now cost 420 instead, I believe it's 500 something, and 420 wants to produce them as well. They still have good old grenades, they have demo charges, and they have concealing smoke as well. So make sure you take advantage of these guys. They have a little bit higher HP now as well, because they were a little bit like glass cannons before. So these guys should be pretty effective, and make sure you use them because they can get their own veterancy as well. Of course, you have your decoy artillery, call in fake artillery strikes, and then for 125 munitions you can call in your own artillery strike, which is pretty awesome. Keep the enemy moving and keep them from staying in one spot. Overall, I think I like this pretty much because it gives you a different option. Only 1 CP allows you to play a bit different. It's kind of like a weapon support for the British, actually. So make sure you take advantage of that and play a little bit differently. Use light vehicles a little different. You don't want to use the universal carrier every time. Then you have this Jeep that you can mess around with, capture territories and lay mines to ambush the enemy, and then of course machine gun, mortar, and some light anti-tank as well. But let's move on to the next commander. Alright, moving on to the last commander, we have Royal Engineer Support. The right-hand side has improved command vehicles, improves the amount of resources, mainly I think munitions that you receive from territories. Armored command trucks move more quickly, increase population, take less damage, and generate more resources. Then you have a hold down, which allows your tanks just to improve their defensive. One thing to note about this is when they hold down, it doesn't go into place until they've finished the entire animation. Before it started as soon as you clicked it, but now you have to go into the full digging animation. I believe once the hold down position is completed. See, and then he's good. Then he's got the bonus armor. All right, moving on. Churchill Crocodile. This comes in as the last on the right-hand side. 700 manpower. Now this gun is actually a little bit different than the gun that has on the regular Churchill. This gun is good versus tanks, not as good versus infantry anymore. And also notice they have different turrets. Now the Churchill Crocodile has one that's better versus infantry, and then it has the flamethrower as well. Let's see if we can go ahead and try to use this real quick. And they also have all three of them have tank shock as well, so that's something that you can use to simply. There's a flamethrower. As you can see, it does quite significant damage. Doing pretty insane damage if you ask me. Pretty nice. Moving on to the next one. On the far left side, we improve replacements. This will basically give you more HP to your emplacements, making them a little bit stronger and more durable. Next, you have counter battery. So whenever you turn counter battery on, it's on for active for a minute. Costs 50 munitions, and it'll fire 2 rounds at whatever's firing. Like say it be an enemy mortar or be an enemy artillery piece, it'll fire 2 rounds at them. Every single one of them that fires within that time, so just be aware of that. And then next you have the Churchill AVRE. So this has been changed a little bit as well. It also has tank shock, tank crew commander, mine plow. The cool thing about this thing, it no longer takes munitions to fire. As you can see, it simply fires and loads like a normal gun. No more simply having to play 35 munitions per shot on this. It's still pretty powerful. Very good against infantry and light vehicles. Against tanks, not so much as good. And remember, it has tank shock for 25 on every single one of these Churchills. You can't do it obviously when you're locked down, but this is one of the coolest ones because you get anti-infantry tanks on both sides, and you have access to stronger. This is really good if you're using emplacements, and has counter battery to help you out late game as well. Overall, not a bad choice, and it definitely helps you late game versus infantry heavy builds. But hope you guys enjoyed it. Please leave a like if you enjoyed this. Subscribe if you want to see more, and make sure you go to the Eastern Front Discord and make sure you guys join it in the link below. And I'll see you later. Goodbye.